Donald Trump continues to rant and rave and spread disinformation as the prospects of going to prison after being convicted on 34 separate felony counts in his criminal trial last week becomes more of a real possibility with each passing day as we get closer to the July 11th sentencing. Donald Trump is practically begging the extreme right-wing Supreme Court justices to do something to throw out the Constitution and somehow intervene to help him. Donald Trump continues to rant and rave to anybody who listens that this was rigged and this was all unfair, like he's done his entire life. Let me show you what Donald Trump's been posting, and then I want to compare it also to what President Biden's been saying and posting. And obviously, Donald Trump's been looking at some of the polls as well, which show the fact that many Americans now feel that, and unfortunately so, that the criminal conviction is a disqualifying event for Donald Trump to continue to lead the Republican Party. You think? Here's what Donald Trump writes. He goes, "The sentencing for not having done anything," and by the way, he puts sentencing in quotes, "the sentencing for not having done anything wrong will be, conveniently for the fascists, 4 days before the Republican National Convention, a radical left Soros-backed DA who ran on a platform of 'I will get Trump,' reporting to an acting local judge appointed by the Democrats who is highly conflicted, will make a decision which will determine the future of our nation. The United States Supreme Court must decide." The United States Supreme Court has no jurisdiction over this. This is a state prosecution that has not even reached the sentencing phase yet. But I guess what? The right-wing Supreme Court that's overturned Roe v. Wade, they're going to involve themselves in state court criminal case sentencing now. Donald Trump says here as well that the district attorney ran on an "I will get Trump" platform. That is also 100% false. But, Donald Trump's whole history is saying this is rigged and that is rigged. And here's the text message, by the way, that Donald Trump was sending to people who weren't even on his text message list. He must be buying lists of people's cell phones, I think, improperly. But here's what he writes in these text messages. You may have got one. From Trump: "All hell just broke loose. I was convicted in a rigged trial." As the editor-in-chief of MeidasTouch Network, Ron Filipkowski, wrote, "For Donald Trump, the 2020 election rigged. All of the election lawsuits that Donald Trump lost, rigged. The E. Jean Carroll trial, where Donald Trump lost in front of 2 separate juries. He was found to have sexually assaulted E. Jean Carroll and defamed her. That was rigged. The New York civil fraud trial, Donald Trump says that was rigged. The New York criminal trial, that was rigged. The grand jury process, that was rigged. For Donald Trump, everything is rigged. The Iowa caucus, Donald Trump says, was rigged. By the way, do you remember when Hillary Clinton was debating Donald Trump back in 2016? And like all things, she was right, and she called him out and said, this is his history. When he didn't get an Emmy, he said that was rigged. His whole life is just whining and complaining that this is rigged or that is rigged when it doesn't go his way. The one thing I disagree with Hillary Clinton about when I show you this video of what she said back in 2016 is she goes, well, it may be funny. It's not funny at all. And again, that's her perhaps saying that in the context of 2016 versus all the devastation he's caused to our country. But just to remind you, let me show you that video clip. Let's play it.
Every time Donald thinks things are not going in his direction, he claims whatever it is rigged against him. The FBI conducted a year-long investigation into my emails. They concluded there was no case. He said the FBI was rigged. He lost the Iowa caucus. He lost the Wisconsin primary. He said the Republican primary was rigged against him. Then Trump University gets sued for fraud and racketeering. He claims the court system and the federal judge is rigged against him. There was even a time when he didn't get an Emmy for his TV program 3 years in a row, and he started tweeting that the Emmys were rigged against him.
Should have gotten it.
This is a mindset. This is how Donald thinks. And it's funny, but it's also really troubling.
We all are operating at our highest levels all the time. Living a more heart-healthy life fuels everything you do. Introducing 3-in-1 blood pressure support plus CoQ10 from SuperBeets Heart Chews Advanced. Paired with a healthy lifestyle, the grapeseed extract in SuperBeets is clinically shown to be nearly 2 times more effective at promoting normal blood pressure than a healthy lifestyle alone. New SuperBeets Heart Chews Advanced supports healthy CoQ10 level, an important nutrient for heart health. SuperBeets Heart Health Chews are incredibly delicious and so much better than any alternative supplements out there. I take my SuperBeets Heart Chews each morning and it's really kickstarted my morning routine. After taking my SuperBeets Heart Chews, I feel like I have more energy and I'm ready to take on the day. CoQ10 generates 95% of the cellular energy your heart needs, but it can decline with age, stress, and statin use. SuperBeets Heart Chews Advanced is effective and contains clinically researched ingredients. From SuperBeets, the #1 doctor, pharmacist, and cardiologist recommended beet brand for cardiovascular health support. Find out how you could get a free 30-day supply on bundles of new SuperBeets Heart Chews Advanced and save 15% for a limited time only by going to superbeetsradio.com, promo code Meidas. That's super, BEETS, radio.com, promo code Meidas, MEIDAS.
By the way, over the weekend, Donald Trump's son, Don Jr., posted the following: F-word, Joe Biden, American flag, American flag, American flag. They always misappropriate these symbols of our great nation. Now they're hanging the flags upside down like petulant little wannabe fascist children. But just think about that. Could you imagine if a member of Biden's family was using language like that? The media would be all over it. But I guess when it comes to the Trumps, just use language F this, F that, and that should be normalized. It absolutely shouldn't, and here on the MeidasTouch network, we will not normalize it at all. Donald Trump then posts, "Thank you, Staten Island." Over the weekend, apparently, there was like a Staten Island event for Donald Trump. Not that he spoke at, but just some of Donald Trump's weirdo cult members threw an event where they went there with their Vote Trump or Die flag. Just think about that. They've replaced the flags of the United States of America with flags with Donald Trump's face on it. If they hold the flags, they now put the flags upside down. They've created a new national anthem that's sung by the J6ers, who they call hostages, which replaces the lyrics of our national anthem. And we, the people, are supposed to sit back and act like this is somehow normal. By the way, as part of that Staten Island event, a Trump bus, one of these culty buses that have the signs everywhere so the driver can't even really see through the windows, the bus crashed into a light pole on the way to the Staten Island rally. And if you want to know what the event is like, it's all people wearing their cult gear with Donald Trump's face on it. And just take a look at just something. I'm not going to play you the video because it has copyrighted music, but just take a look about how strange stuff. And you see that one photo with the flag in the background of Vote Trump or Die? It's a cult, folks. It's a cult. Donald Trump then posts this, another lie. Nobody even knew what the crime was until the judge gave his unconstitutional instructions. A total hoax. A case like this has never been brought before. A country in peril, election interference. There have been thousands of falsification of business records, cases that were brought before. We all knew what the crime was. The crime is falsification of business records. It's very clear what it was. There was a grand jury that indicted. There was a fair and impartial jury that heard the evidence. And by the way, weren't all the Trump supporters for the 7 weeks of the trial saying Donald Trump has turned New York red, that there are lines that are stretching from miles of Trump supporters in Manhattan, that all of these Trump supporters in Manhattan, they're trying to get close to the courthouse, Donald Trump would say, but they can't get close. So let me get this straight. You have all these supporters in New York. You're going to flip New York and turn it red. But when the jury doesn't go your way, now it's rigged and now you don't get a fair trial there. everything they say is a lie and a grift. Donald Trump posting a message from the authoritarian leader of Hungary, Viktor Orban, where they have massive inflation and a country whose entire GDP is less than the annual revenue of many American corporations. But Viktor Orban says, I've known Donald Trump to be a man of honor. As president, he always put America first. He commanded respect around the world. Viktor Orban, one of the least respected men or people around the world and a proxy of Vladimir Putin. You then have Donald Trump post the grift. I'm a political prisoner. Donate money to me. You're not even in prison yet. And he's whining about being a political prisoner. He then posts the Mark Levin is about to be on, because they have it's in propaganda network, the likes of which would make Kim Jong-un, Vladimir Putin blush. I mean, that you have what Fox does and how Fox platforms him. And then Trump goes, we'll be on Fox and Friends. And then he goes on Fox and Friends. They take a photo before he goes on, and they're all, buddy. I mean, because they're quite literally a wing of his campaign right now. And then Donald Trump goes on there and whines, and he talks about how they wouldn't allow certain people to testify. It was totally wrong. Here, play this clip.
And then they indict you and they go to a grand jury, and they don't use Bob Costello's testimony. They use almost none of it. They didn't want him before the grand jury because he's very persuasive. This judge didn't want him to talk. They shouldn't have allowed certain people to testify. It was totally wrong that they did that.
And then Donald Trump says, it was an unfair jury. You had the jury from a certain persuasion, he says. Here, play this clip.
Remember, Bragg didn't want to do the case. He came out. He said, there's no case. And how can you have a witness like so-and-so? I'm not allowed to mention the name. Can you believe this? This guy's allowed to have shows, television shows. I'm not allowed to mention the name. It's so unfair. But regardless, you have to really play the hand that you're dealt. And then you had a jury that was, from a certain persuasion. Would have been hard to do no matter what. But I did absolutely nothing wrong. I mean, absolutely. Think of it.
Look, I think the anonymous account says it correctly here. MAGA isn't the majority. They're actually only 14% of the voting base in the USA. They're just very loud crybabies, and Elon Musk's Twitter algorithm, and I would say other social media algorithms as well, boost them to make them look like they have the numbers. They don't. It's a psyop to rein in the sheeple and the lemmings. It is. They want to project. What Donald Trump going to talk about? How his love of the J6ers, that he wants to rip apart our Constitution. I mean, that's Donald Trump says he wants to tear apart our Constitution. That Donald Trump took away women's reproductive rights. Donald Trump is coming for your freedom. So they go, oh, look how popular we are. Look at me. I'm at a UFC event. Look at me over here. Look at Yankee Stadium. One random person in the crowd who's a weirdo hung a Trump mugshot banner. Look how popular he is. And then just repost, have the social media platforms boost. It's quite pathetic, actually. But just compare that to what President Biden's posting, like real normal stuff. President Biden writes, during National Gun Violence Awareness Month, we remember the thousands of Americans whose lives are lost to gun violence every year. I signed the most significant gun safety bill in decades and have taken dozens of executive actions, but it's not enough. Congress must act. And right now, Congress is controlled in the House of Representatives by MAGA Republicans who showed up to Donald Trump's criminal trial and got dressed up by Donald Trump in long red ties or ties with Donald Trump's face on it, which is just so freaking bizarre that that's what the Republican Party is. Like the people in Staten Island. The same thing. President Biden writes, I'm going to protect Social Security and Medicare, and we're going to make sure the wealthy pay their fair share to keep these programs solvent. President Biden writes, America is home to people whose ancestors have been here for thousands of years, folks who immigrated generations ago and those who just arrived. This Immigrant Heritage Month, we celebrate the courage of our nation's immigrants whose dreams are the foundations of America. And then President Biden writes, I'll be damned if I let Donald Trump drag America down to his level. We shouldn't normalize them using the F word and talking about the President of the United States as F this person. We shouldn't normalize them with flags that say vote Trump or die. We shouldn't normalize them praising the J6 insurrectionists. We shouldn't normalize their behavior, their lawlessness. Listen to what President Biden had to say from the post he made.
I'm not going to let Donald Trump turn America into a place that doesn't believe in honesty, decency, and treating people with respect. And I'll be damned if I'm going to let Donald Trump turn America into a place filled with anger and resentment and hate.
And by the way, as Peter Henline, a DeSantis supporter at Swiss Watch Guy, says, look, 51% of Americans now think Trump isn't fit to be president, that he's been convicted. Trump lost his last election, and by large margins in both the Electoral College and the popular vote. He needed to gain a large amount of support, not lose it, in order to win the presidency. Trump won't win. His candidacy is a waste, and its only functional purpose is to pay the personal bills of a billionaire. And that's a DeSantis supporter, and I've spoken to many of them who feel this way as well. He's pointing to a new YouGov CBS poll that just came out as well. So, folks, there you have it. I want you to decide for yourself, but I want to give you all that data. Hit subscribe. We're on our way to 3 million subscribers. Thanks to your support. Thanks for watching.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Midas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.